Hey folks, and welcome to this bonus video in the Profile Builder series. Now, when building profiles, one of the most common questions I get is how can I have my profile extend from SysML? So in this video, I'll try and answer that question. What we're really talking about is combining SysML with other profiles in the Add New menu and maybe on drawing toolbars. Now, there are actually a few different ways you can do this, but it really boils down to three things: loading a SysML profile, making the terms in SysML available, and then making them visible. Let's start with loading SysML. Here in this profile building project, I have a profile extending SysML, and that has some custom new terms in it. Now, I also have the SysML profile loaded, so I can refer to it, but I haven't done so yet. If I create a new project based on my profile, then I only get that profile. I don't see SysML at all. Well, let's change that. Let's switch back to the profile building project. Now, automatically loading other units is a basic Rhapsody property. Well, actually three of them. If I open the features for this project, there in the profile building property perspective is an imports tab, and on that tab are the properties that allow us to load other units either by copy or by reference. Now, we could set those manually, or we can have the profile builder do it for us. I have both profiles here on this profile diagram, where I'm going to use this auto references dependency to connect them. That's it. I have the project set up to auto-generate property files on save, so let's do that. Then we can examine the generated PRP file in a text editor. There, our profile will now load SysML whenever we create a new project based on that profile. So let's do that. Let's create a new project based on our extending SysML profile. And that new project now has both the SysML and the SysML extension profiles. So that's loading SysML. But if I right-click the project root and I select Add New, there I can see the UML menu and I can see my own new terms on their own submenu, but there are no SysML elements. SysML isn't visible yet. Let's switch back to the Profile Builder project and see why. If we look at the features for my profile, you can see it's globally applied. That means the new terms I've created here are always available. And if I don't define my own menus, then Rhapsody automatically puts them onto a submenu. Now, that too, by the way, is controlled by a property, although I wouldn't suggest switching it off, as it still shows the terms, but on the root Add New menu instead of a submenu, so you could end up with a really long list there. SysML, on the other hand, isn't globally applied. The terms in that profile do not become available until that profile is applied. So how do we apply it? Well, it's actually quite simple. We add an applied profile dependency from the area in the model where we want to see the terms. Now, that might be a single package, or it might be the entire project. For our purposes, we want the profile to apply it for us. So let's create a new project level stereotype, and we'll give it the same name as our profile. Now, this is important. When we create a new project based on a profile, if Rhapsody detects a project level stereotype with that same name, it automatically applies it. Then I can drag that onto the diagram and I can have it apply SysML using the applied profile dependency. Now I can create a new project. In this case, I'll insert one so I can switch between them. Now, in our new project, if I click Add New, then the SysML terms are added to the menu just like my own new terms. They're now available and they're visible. But just like my own new terms, they are on one long flat list, which isn't very user-friendly. Let's switch back to the profile building project and change that. So one neat trick here. Let's open the properties for our project level stereotype. And we'll define our own Add New menu in this Add New menu structure property. Now here I'm just pasting in some text, but you could use the Profile Builder, Add New Menu Creator to model it instead. Now let's switch to the sample model. At project level, because we have a new term, we get that exact menu we defined on the new term stereotype. But if I right-click the default package and I select Add New, we can see a side effect of defining that project level menu. Rhapsody replaces the standard UML menu with the SysML one and adds any of our new menus as well. Now, if you want to replace the menus entirely, then there are two methods. The first is to define your own custom menus on new term stereotypes. But of course, that requires new term stereotypes, like my package instead of package, which is fine if your profile is a full-blown domain-specific language. But what about menus on regular elements like package? Well, there we can make use of conditional properties. Now, many of the properties defined in SysML are conditional on the currently applied perspective, and we can take advantage of that. Let's switch back to the profile building project. Well, the first thing I'll do is to reset that project level add new menu structure property. I'm going to unoverride that because I want to take advantage of the SysML one. Next, I'm going to drag the SysML project level stereotype onto the diagram. And note that it applies the SysML profile. That's why SysML works. When you create a SysML project, that's why you can see the SysML menus, because that project level stereotype is applying it. Now we'll have our project level stereotype inherit from the SysML project level stereotype. That makes all of the SysML conditional properties apply. Now we can control those properties using perspectives. Now if you don't want perspectives, no problem. We can trick SysML into thinking that we do have at least one by defining two properties. The first is General Model Selected Perspective Configuration. Now that's usually a conditional property which is set by choosing a perspective. We can instead hard code it to a name of our choosing. Let's use my menu. The second property is then that name followed by underscore add new menu structure. Now that property effectively becomes the global add new menu. We can again use the profile builder to build a menu for us, but to save time, I'll just paste in this menu, which contains new terms and also SysML terms. Now let's test it. First, I'm going to save to auto-generate those new properties into the property file. And then I can switch to the sample project. And in that sample project, I'm going to right-click the default package and select Add New. And there now is our new menu. We are now in full control of it. Now, of course, if we do want perspectives, then we don't need to actually fake it out at all. We can define our own set of perspectives and define the add new menus and indeed drawing toolbars for each. Now, the hands-on workshop guides you through building this sample model, which has three perspectives: SysML, CAR, and both. In the SysML perspective, we can only see SysML terms, both on the Add New menu and also in the drawing toolbar on this block definition diagram. In the CAR perspective, we only see the new terms from that profile, again on the Add New menus and on the drawing toolbar. And if I switch to the both perspective, we see, well, both. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful and look out for more bonus videos in the Profile Builder series.